Hi there, and welcome to our podcast. And this week at London Visited, we go to the City of London to tell you all about this iconic part of London. My name's Steve, and each week I'll bring to you the facts, history, and information about different parts of this great capital. If you've been to London, are planning on visiting, live here, or just love London from afar, then this is the podcast for you. Also, don't forget to visit our YouTube channel, London Visited, to see videos covering this place and so many others across London. And now to this week's podcast, which is part 2 of the City of London. Inner Temple and Middle Temple, which neighbour each other, are two of the few remaining liberties, an old name for a geographic division. They are independent, extra-parochial areas, historically not governed by the City of London Corporation, and are today regarded as local authorities for most purposes, and equally outside the ecclesiastical jurisdiction of the Bishop of London. They are within the boundaries and the liberties of the city, but can be thought of as independent enclaves. They are both part of Farringdon without. Leadenhall Market is a historic market nestled between Gracechurch Street and Lime Street. Within the city, the corporation owns and runs both Smithfield Market and Leadenhall Market. It owns land beyond its boundaries, including open spaces, parks, forests and commons, in and around Greater London, including most of Epping Forest and Hampstead Heath. The corporation owns Old Spitalfields Market and Billingsgate Fish Market, in the neighbouring London borough of Tower Hamlets. It owns and helps fund the Old Bailey, the Central Criminal Court for England and Wales, as a gift to the nation, having begun as the City and Middlesex Sessions. The Honourable the Irish Society, a body closely linked with the corporation, also owns many public spaces in Northern Ireland. The city has its own independent police force, the City of London Police. The Common Council, the main body of the corporation, is the police authority. The corporation also run the Hampstead Heath Constabulary, Epping Forest Keepers, and the City of London Market Constabularies, whose members are no longer attested as constables but retain the historic title. The majority of Greater London is policed by the Metropolitan Police Service based at New Scotland Yard. The city has one hospital, St Bartholomew's Hospital, also known as Barts. Founded in 1123, it is located at Smithfield and is undergoing long-awaited regeneration after doubts to its continued use during the 1990s. The city is the third largest UK patron of the arts. It oversees the Barbican Centre and subsidises several important performing arts companies. The London Port Health Authority, which is the responsibility of the corporation, is responsible for all port health functions on the tidal part of the Thames, including various seaports and the London City Airport. The corporation oversees the running of Bridge House Trust, which maintains London Bridge, Blackfriars Bridge, Southwark Bridge, Tower Bridge and the Millennium Bridge. The city's flag flies over Tower Bridge, although neither footing is in the city. The size of the city was constrained by a defensive perimeter wall, known as London Wall, which was built by the Romans in the late 2nd century to protect their strategic port city. However, the boundaries of the City of London no longer coincide with the old city wall, as the city expanded its jurisdiction slightly over time. During the medieval era, the city's jurisdiction expanded westwards, crossing to the historic western border to the original settlement, the River Fleet, along Fleet Street to Temple Bar. The city also took in other city bars, which were situated just beyond the old walled area, such as Holborn, Aldersgate, West Smithfield, Bishopsgate and Aldgate. These were the important entrances to the city, and their control was vital in maintaining the city's special privileges over certain trades. Most of the wall has disappeared, but several sections remain visible. A section near the Museum of London was revealed after the devastation of an air raid on the 29th of December 1940, at the height of the Blitz. Other visible sections are at St Alfred, and there are 2 sections near the Tower of London. The River Fleet was canalised after the Great Fire of 1666, and then in stages was bricked up and has been since the 18th century one of London's lost rivers or streams, today underground as a storm drain. The boundary of the city was unchanged until minor boundary changes on the 1st of April 1994, when it expanded slightly to the west, north and east, taking small parcels of land from the London boroughs of Westminster, Camden, Islington, Hackney and Tower Hamlets. The main purpose of these changes was to tidy up the boundary, where it had been rendered obsolete by changes in the urban landscape. In this process, the city also lost small parcels of land, though there was an overall net gain. The city grew from 1.05 to 1.12 square miles. Most notably, the changes placed the then recently developed Broadgate estate entirely in the city. Southwark, to the south of the city on the other side of the Thames, was within the city between 1550 and 1899, as the ward of Bridge Without, a situation connected with the Guildhall Manor. The city's administrative responsibility there had in practice disappeared by the mid-Victorian period as various aspects of metropolitan government were extended to the neighbouring areas. Today, it is part of the London Borough of Southwark. The Tower of London has always been outside the city and comes under the London Borough of Tower Hamlets. The corporation in the City of London has a full achievement of armorial bearings, consisting of a shield on which the arms are displayed, a crest displayed on a helm above the shield, supporters on either side, and a motto displayed on a scroll beneath the arms. The coat of arms is anciently recorded at the College of Arms. The arms consist of a silver shield bearing a red cross with an upright sword in the first quarter. They combine the emblems of the patron saints of England and London, the cross of St. George with the symbol of martyrdom of St. Paul. The sword is often erroneously supposed to commemorate the killing of peasants' revolt leader, Wat Taylor, by Lord Mayor of London, William Walworth. However, the arms were in use some months before Taylor's death, and the tradition that Walworth's dagger is depicted may date from the late 17th century. The Latin motto of the city translates as Lord Directus. It is thought to have been adopted in the 17th century, as the earliest record of it is in 1633. A banner of the arms, the design on the shield, is flown as a flag. The city is England's smallest ceremonial county by area and population, and the fourth most densely populated. Of the 326 English districts, it is the smallest by population, after the Isles of Scilly, and smallest by area. It is also the smallest English city by population, and in Britain, only 2 cities in Wales are smaller, and the smallest in the UK by area. The elevation of the city ranges from sea level at the Thames to 21.6 metres at the junction of High Holborn and Chancery Lane. 2 small but notable hills are within the historic core: Ludgate Hill to the west and Cornhill to the east. Both of them ran the Walbrook, one of the many lost rivers or streams of London. Another is the Fleet. Beginning in the west, where the city borders Westminster, the boundary crosses the Victoria Embankment from the Thames, passes to the west of Middle Temple, and then turns for a short distance along Strand, then north up Chancery Lane, where it borders Camden. It turns east along Holborn to Holborn Circus, then goes northeast to Charterhouse Street. As it crosses Farringdon Road, it becomes the boundary with Islington. It continues to Aldersgate, goes north and turns east into some back streets soon after Aldersgate becomes Goswell Road. Since 1994, embracing all of the corporation's Golden Lane estate. At Baltic Street is the most northerly extent. The boundary includes all of the Barbican estate and continues east along Ropemaker Street, and is a continuation on the other side of Moorgate, becomes South Place. It goes north, reaching the border with Hackney, then east, north, east on back streets, with Worship Street forming a northern boundary, so as to include the Broadgate estate. The boundary then turns south at Knowlton Falgate and becomes the border with Tower Hamlets. It continues south to Bishopsgate and takes some back streets to Middlesex Street, Petticoat Lane, where it continues southeast and then south. It then turns southwest, crossing the Minories so as to exclude the Tower of London, and then reaches the river. It then runs up to the centre of the Thames, with the exception that Blackfriars Bridge falls within the city. The city controls London Bridge as part of Bridgeward, but only half of the river underneath it, a feature which is unique in British local administration. The boundaries are marked by black bollards bearing the city's emblem, and by a dragon boundary marks at major entrances, such as Holborn. A more substantial monument marks the boundary at Temple Bar on Fleet Street. In some places, the financial district extends slightly beyond the boundaries, notably to the north and east, into the London boroughs of Tower Hamlets, Hackney and Islington, and informally these locations are seen as part of the square mile. Since the 1990s, the eastern fringe, extending into Hackney and Tower Hamlets, has increasingly been a focus for large office developments due to the availability of large sites compared to within the city. The city has no sizable parks within its boundary, but does have a network of a large number of gardens and small open spaces, many of them maintained by the corporation. These range from formal gardens, such as the one at Finsbury Circus, containing a bowling green and a bandstand, to churchyards, such as St Olave Hart Street, to water features and artwork in courtyards and pedestrianised lanes. There are a number of private gardens and open spaces, often within the courtyards of larger commercial developments. Two of the largest are those in the Inner Temple and Middle Temple ends of the court, in the far southwest. The Thames and its riverside walks are increasingly being valued as open space, and in recent years efforts have been made to increase the ability for pedestrians to access and walk along the river. As mentioned previously, the city is a police area and has its own police force, the City of London Police, separate from the Metropolitan Police Service covering the majority of Greater London. The City Police have 3 police stations at Snow Hill, Wood Street and Bishopsgate, and an administrative headquarters at Guild Yard East. The force comprises of 735 police officers, including 273 detectives. It is the smallest territorial police force in England and Wales, in both geographic area and number of police officers. Where the majority of British police forces have silver-coloured badges, those of the City of London Police are black and gold, featuring the city crest. The force has rare red and white checkered cap bands and unique red and white striped duty armbands on the sleeves of the tunics of the constables and sergeants, red and white being the colours of the city, which in most other British police forces are black and white. City police sergeants and constables wear crested custodian helmets whilst on foot patrol. These helmets do not feature either St Edward's crown or the Brunswick star, which are used on most other police helmets in England and Wales. The city's position as the UK's financial centre and critical part of the country's economy, contributing about 2.5% of the UK's gross national product, has resulted in it becoming a target for political violence. The city has fire risks in many historic buildings, including St Paul's Cathedral, the Old Bailey, Mansion House, Smithfield Market and the Guildhall, also in numerous high-rise buildings. There is one London Fire Brigade station in the city, at Dowgate, with one pumping appliance. The city relies upon stations in the surrounding London boroughs to support it with some incidents. The first fire engine is in attendance in roughly 5 minutes on average, the second when required in a little over 5.5 minutes. The Bank of England on Threadneedle Street is the central bank of the United Kingdom. The city vies with New York City's downtown Manhattan as the financial capital of the world. Whilst New York is the most significant stock trading centre, London's foreign exchange market is the biggest in the world by the amount traded. The London Stock Exchange, shares and bonds, Lloyd's of London, insurance and the Bank of England are all based in the city. Over 500 banks have offices in the city. The alternative investment market, a market for trades in equities of smaller firms, is a recent development. In 2009, the City of London accounted for 2.4% of the UK GDP. London is the world's greatest foreign exchange market, with much of the trade conducted in the City of London. London's foreign exchange market has been described by Reuters as the crown jewel of London's financial sector. Of the $3.98 trillion daily global turnover, as measured in 2009, trading in London accounted for around $1.85 trillion, or 46.7% of the total. The pound sterling, the currency of the UK, is globally the 4th most traded currency and the 3rd most held reserve currency. Since 1991, Canary Wharf, a few miles east of the city in Tower Hamlets, has become another centre for London's financial services industry, which houses many banks and other institutions formerly located in the square mile. Although growth has continued in both locations, there have been relocations in both directions. The corporation has come to realise that its planning policies may have been causing financial firms to choose Canary Wharf as a location. Whilst the financial sector and related businesses and institutions continue to dominate, the economy is not limited to that sector. The legal profession has a strong presence, especially in the West and North. Retail businesses were once important, but have gradually moved to the West End of London, though it is now corporation policy to encourage retailing in some locations, for example at Cheapside near St Paul's. The city has a number of visitor attractions, mainly based on its historic heritage, as well as the Barbican Centre and adjacent Museum of London, though tourism is not at present a major contributor to the city's economy or character. The city has many pubs, bars and restaurants, and the nighttime economy does feature in the Bishopsgate area, towards Shoreditch. The meat market at Smithfield, wholly within the city, continues to be one of London's main markets, the only one remaining in central London, and the country's largest meat market. In the east is Leadenhall Market, a fresh food market that is also a visitor attraction. The trend for purely office development is beginning to reverse as the corporation encourages residential use, albeit with development occurring as it arises on windfill sites. The city has a target of 90 additional dwellings per year. Some of the extra accommodation is in small pre-World War II listed buildings, which are not suitable for occupation by the large companies which now provide much of the city's employment. Recent residential developments include the Heron, a high-rise residential building on the Milton Court site adjacent to the Barbican, and the Heron Plaza development on Bishopsgate is also expected to include residential parts. Since the 1990s, the city has diversified away from near-exclusive office use in other ways. For example, several hotels and the first department store opened in the 2000s. A shopping centre was more recently opened at One New Change, Cheapside, near St Paul's Cathedral, in October 2010, which is open 7 days a week. However, large sections remain quiet at weekends, especially in the eastern section, and it is quite common to find shops, pubs and cafes closed on these days. Firebombing and post-World War II redevelopment have meant that the city, despite its history, has fewer intact historic structures than one might expect. Nonetheless, there remain many dozens of fine buildings, mostly Victorian and Edwardian, typically in a neoclassical style. They include the monument to the Great Fire of London, the Monument, St Paul's Cathedral, the Guildhall, the Royal Exchange, Dr Johnson's House, Mansion House, and a great many churches, many designed by Sir Christopher Wren, who also designed St Paul's. 2 King's Bench Walk and Prince Henry's Rooms are notable historic survivors of heavy bombing of the Temple area, which has largely been rebuilt to its historic form. Another example of a bomb-damaged place having been restored is Staple Inn on Holborn. A few small sections of the Roman London Wall exist, for example, near the Tower of London and in the Barbican area. Among the 20th century listed buildings are Bracken House, the first post-World War II buildings in the country to be given statutory protection, and the whole of the Barbican and Golden Lane estate. The Tower of London is not in the city, but is a notable visitor attraction which brings tourists to the southeast of the city. Other landmark buildings with historical significance include the Bank of England, the Old Bailey, the Custom House, Smithfield Market, Leadenhall Market, and St Bartholomew's Hospital. Noteworthy contemporary buildings include a number of modern high-rise buildings, as well as the Lloyd's Building. A growing number of tall buildings and skyscrapers are principally used in the financial sector. Almost all are situated in the eastern side around Bishopsgate, Leadenhall Street, and Fenchurch Street, in the financial core of the city. In the north, there is a small cluster comprising of the Barbican Estate's 3 tall residential towers and the commercial City Point Tower. In 2007, the 100-metre tall Draper's Gardens building was demolished and replaced by a shorter tower. The city has one London pier, Blackfriars Millennium Pier, though the Tower Millennium Pier lays adjacent to the boundary near the Tower of London. One of the Port of London's 25 safeguarded wharves, Walbrook Wharf, is adjacent to Cannon Street Station and is used by the corporation to transfer waste via the river. There is a public riverside walk alongside the riverbank, opened in stages over recent years. The only section not running along the river is a short stretch at Queenhithe. The walk along Walbrook Wharf is closed to pedestrians when waste is being transferred onto the barges. So, I hope you've enjoyed our look at the City of London. Whatever podcast service you use to listen to this, please do subscribe to get updates on new shows, and also please leave us some feedback. Please let me know any places you'd like us to feature in future podcasts, and you can let me know through our usual website, www.londonvisited.co.uk. You can email me directly on londonvisited@gmail.com, or you can contact us on Twitter and Instagram on @LondonVisited, or through Facebook on @TheLondonVisited. Thanks for listening. Really hope you enjoyed our 2-part podcast, and we'll see you soon in the next one. Bye!